All who have seen this seed are fated to die, yet I swallowed it directly and nurtured it within me for 18 years. Still within the sect, and already so intimate. What will happen once they leave? Liu Ruxu's plaintive voice drifted over. Chen Xiling, startled, quickly pulled away from Fang Chen's embrace. Blushing, she lowered her head and said, "Sister, I wouldn't dare." As the rightful wife, Liu Ruxu had yet to unite with Fang Chen. How could Chen Xiling dare to take precedence? Liu Ruxu couldn't help but laugh aloud. "Just teasing you. Look how scared you are. Those things are bound to happen sooner or later. Since I have accepted you, why would I mind?" She drew Chen Xiling's hand to Fang Chen's palm, saying, "Xiling is now entrusted to you. Do not let a single hair on her head be harmed." Fang Chen smiled faintly. With an arm around each, he embraced the two women. This made Ding Wanping, who had just been feeling somewhat pleased, suddenly find his master's care much less appealing. Healing medicines, spiritual power elixirs, and talismans, what were these worth in comparison to the scene before him? What made Ding Wanping's eyes widen with even more envy was the sight of a graceful figure in purple, approaching with hesitation. "You certainly know how to enjoy life." Liu Qingxian, a woman of peerless beauty, watched the scene before her with mixed emotions. Although she had long heard that Fang Chen had two wives, one older and one younger, seeing him with an arm around each filled her heart with a gritty discomfort, as if sand had been scattered within it. Fang Chen asked, "Senior sister, do you have any instructions?" Liu Qingxian glanced at Liu Ruxu, unable to resist comparing herself. In terms of appearance, the other woman was in no way inferior to herself. As for spiritual roots, the other woman tested with a 7th grade spiritual root, still not inferior to her own. Regarding status, the other woman was Fang Chen's fiancée, while she was merely his senior sister. This comparison stirred a sense of discontent within her. Why should this be? She was in no way inferior to her. With a hint of defiance, she produced a small red pouch filled with various medicines, spiritual elixirs, talismans, and even some low-grade magical artifacts. The quantity was several times greater than Ding Wanping's. "I've prepared some items for you. I hope they prove useful." She handed the pouch to Fang Chen. "Thank you, senior sister." Fang Chen was about to accept. However, Liu Ruxu narrowed her eyes slightly. She said, "Senior sister Liu, I appreciate your kindness on behalf of my husband. I have already prepared some things for him, and Xiling will also share what he needs, so there's no need for senior sister Liu to trouble herself." As a woman herself, how could she not see through the other's intentions? Since the other party intended to provoke, she naturally could not back down. Liu Qingxian looked at Liu Ruxu, her gaze sharpening. "It seems you don't need to interfere with me giving things to my junior brother, do you?" Liu Ruxu chuckled softly. She turned her head and stared at Fang Chen. "Xiao Fan. Xiling and I don't want you to accept things from other women. You can decide what to do." Fang Chen was speechless. Why were they fighting now? However, Liu Ruxu and Xiling were his closest companions. There was no reason to let them lose face. He could only politely decline Liu Qingxian's kind offer. He cupped his hands and said, "Senior sister Liu, I." Liu Qingxian already knew the answer. She bit her lip slightly, glaring fiercely at Fang Chen. "How cruel you are." Then she looked at the calm-faced Liu Ruxu, hesitating to speak. Finally, she stamped her foot and left in a huff. Fang Chen had a headache. However, there was no other way. Although Liu Qingxian was very good to him, if he had to choose between her and his two wives, his wives were naturally more important. He could only placate her after returning from eliminating the demonic beasts. Chen Xiling clicked her tongue slightly and whispered, "Sister, why did you treat her like that?" In her impression, Liu Ruxu was not such an unreasonable person. Liu Ruxu said helplessly, "Do you think I wanted to? This daughter of the sect master is arrogant by nature. If she is fated to have no connection with Xiao Fan in the future, then so be it. But if there truly is a connection, do you think I should stop it or not?" Chen Xiling truly had no answer for this, because she herself had become Fang Chen's concubine with Liu Ruxu's consent. If she were to stop it, she would lack the demeanor of a main wife. But if she isn't stopped, do you think this daughter of the sect master would be content to remain subservient to us? Therefore, I must now make her understand that if she wishes to join, she must first recognize who is truly in charge. Chen Xiling suddenly understood. What appeared to be a dispute of temperament just now was, in fact, a struggle for hierarchy, aimed at curbing Liu Qingxian's sharp edge. She couldn't help but exclaim, "It's truly difficult for elder sister to play the villain this time." Liu Ruxu cast a reproachful glare at Fang Chen, sighing, "Isn't it because our husband is too good at attracting attention? I truly don't understand what's so great about him that all of you keep flocking to him." Chen Xiling was so embarrassed that she lightly stomped her foot, rendered speechless. This scene made Ding Wanping so consumed by jealousy that his molars felt like they were grinding to dust. Even Liu Qingxian, the foremost beauty of the 9 sects, was vying for Fang Chen's attention. Why him? What exactly made him superior? Yet this was still not the end. A soft, delicate voice suddenly drifted over. Fang Junior Brother, Master sent me to deliver something to you." Su Qiuning shrank her neck, shuffling her feet while cautiously observing Liu Ruxu's expression. Fang Chen saw 2 bags, one large and one small. The large bag was brown, filled with a complete assortment of various medicines, a truly comprehensive collection. It contained more than what Lai Qingfeng had given to his 2 disciples combined. "This is from my master. You saved her life last time by concocting the 9 flavor heart nourishing pill." Fang Chen realized. He unceremoniously put away the large bag, then pointed to the smaller one, asking, "And this?" Su Qiuning guiltily replied, "This is also from master." Liu Ruxu, standing nearby, couldn't help but burst into laughter. Glancing at the small pink bag, she remarked, "Elder when at her age still favors pink. How rare." Su Qiuning's face immediately flushed red. She quickly lowered her head and stammered, I'll take my leave now." With that, she fled, as if escaping. Fang Chen said helplessly, "She's just thanking me for helping her complete her assessment task. Look how you've scared her." Liu Ruxu innocently spread her hands. "She's just feeling guilty herself. I didn't say anything." At this moment, Gongsun Nan also arrived. He placed a heavy bag before Fang Chen's feet, causing the ground to creak under its weight. This drew gasps of astonishment and continuous speculation from the crowd. What could be so heavy? Could it be one of the 3 sets of Meridian black iron armor, the only ones on Carefree Peak? How could that be? That is the treasured artifact of Carefree Peak. Even Gongsun Nan, as the chief disciple, isn't qualified to wear it. Why would it be given to an outsider? Fang Chen was also surprised. He bent down and opened a narrow slit in the bag. Inside was a dark, Chinese, letter-black piece of armor. He recognized it. He was taken aback. The Meridian black iron armor, unacceptable. I cannot accept such a valuable item. He had readily accepted items from Medicine Peak because they owed him a favor, so he had no fear of being beholden to them. However, there was no such personal debt between him and Carefree Peak. Moreover, what was being offered was such an extraordinary treasure. "Junior brother Fang, please take it. Otherwise the Grand Elder will cause trouble for my master," Gongsun Nan said with a bitter smile. To this day, he still couldn't understand why Huang Jianshan, the previous elder who hadn't returned to Carefree Peak for over a decade, had suddenly reappeared. He had specifically instructed Carefree Peak to establish a good relationship with Fang Chen, and even had Zhao Wuji send a set of Meridian black iron armor to Fang Chen, ensuring he wouldn't die outside. Elder Huang, knowing it's the Grand Elder's command. Fang Chen gave a wry smile. How could he dare to refuse the Elder's kind intentions? He could only accept it and quietly put it on later when no one was around. Gong Sun Nan breathed a slight sigh of relief. He said enviously, "This is an armor capable of deflecting attacks from cultivators below the 3rd stage of core formation. I've coveted it for a long time, but never had the chance to obtain it. I wonder what kind of charm potion you brewed for the Grand Elder." Fang Chen was astonished. He had only known that the Meridian black iron armor possessed extremely strong defensive capabilities, but he hadn't realized it was powerful to such an extent. If he were to encounter that Beast King by chance, he would now have an additional layer of hope for survival. Please convey to Senior Huang, through Senior Brother Gongsun, that this junior will surely visit to express gratitude upon my return. Gongsun Nan nodded and departed. This left everyone amazed and in awe. My goodness! Despite not being highly regarded by the sect master, Fang Chen was held in high esteem by so many influential figures. The resources he acquired were almost more than those obtained by all the other disciples combined. Ding Wanping looked at the various bags, large and small, before Fang Chen, then at the single, meager small bag in his own hand, his expression growing increasingly unpleasant. Not without a hint of jealousy, he remarked, "We are going to slay rampaging demonic beasts, not for an outing. Why do you need so many things?" Chen Xiling covered her mouth and chuckled softly. When Fang Chen possessed limited resources, he was often criticized for lacking support and for his flamboyant style. She delighted in watching others' helplessness as they envied Fang Chen. Once the various elders had allocated resources to their respective disciples, Liu Wenchen gave the command, "Depart." Over 100 disciples immediately set off in their assigned groups towards their designated cities. Yunyang City bordered Guzhou City, yet it was far more prosperous and bustling. This was due to Yunyang City possessing a crystal mine, from which all the spirit stones within the Qingyun sect's territory were extracted. Its importance was, therefore, self-evident. Consequently, numerous powerful forces emerged locally, consistently producing renowned martial arts experts for generations, each dominating a region, and collectively known as martial arts clans. Many of the Qingyun sect's prodigies were recruited from these very martial arts clans. Cao Zhen, for instance, hailed from one such martial arts clan. They were about to reach Yunyang City. After 2 days of travel, journeying on flying beasts, they finally arrived at Yunyang City. Fang Chen surveyed Yunyang City's general state from above, exhaling slightly. It appears Yunyang City has not suffered too severe damage. Ding Wanping rolled his eyes, of course. One only needs to consider how many martial arts clans reside in Yunyang City. Unless a Beast King personally intervenes, no significant trouble can be stirred. A disciple from Reincarnation Peak flattered, indeed. Senior Brother Ding's Ding clan is one of Yunyang City's 3 great martial arts clans, with numerous experts emerging from their ranks. Even the city lord holds them in utmost respect. Upon hearing this, the disciples in the group all revealed expressions of surprise. They had never imagined that Ding Wanping possessed such an impressive background. Even Chen Xiling wore a look of astonishment. This shouldn't be so. That Ding Wanping, such a high-profile and flamboyant individual, could conceal his background so deeply was truly unexpected. That was in the past. Ding Wanping revealed a meaningful smile. From now on, Yunyang City will no longer have 3 great martial arts families, but only the strongest martial arts family, the Ding family. As everyone looked on with questioning gazes, Ding Wanping's eyes showed excitement. I received a message from the clan. A 1-star Soul Master, certified by the Soul Master Association, has recently arrived in Yunyang City, and our Ding family has been fortunate enough to become his partner. Surely you all understand what a 1-star Soul Master signifies, do you not? A collective gasp filled the air. Even the reincarnation peak disciple, who had been flattering him, was utterly astonished. A 1-star Soul Master is an extremely rare existence even within the 9 sects territory. Some sects still do not have a Soul Master presiding over them. A 1-star Soul Master is an extraordinary figure, regardless of which sect they belong to. For the Ding family to be able to ally with such a person, becoming Yunyang City's foremost family, is only a matter of time. Fang Chen stroked his chin in thought. Soul Masters are uncommon, and independent Soul Masters are infuriatingly rare. So far, he only knew of one-star Soul Master, Qin Wenyuan, who had been so frightened by him that his entire clan moved out of solitary Boat City. Now, with Yunyang City suddenly gaining a 1-star Soul Master, could it possibly be Qin Wenyuan? Is the 1-star Soul Master you're referring to named Qin? Fang Chen inquired. Ding Wanping glanced at Fang Chen in surprise, saying, "Your nose is quite sharp. You managed to uncover such confidential information. However, discovering his surname and given name is your limit. All other information is a top secret known only to us martial arts families." Fang Chen touched his nose. If Qin Wenyuan was the top secret information they were referring to, then the secrets he knew were far too numerous. Soon after, the flying beast landed at the Ding family's manor, located in the heart of Yunyang City. Over a dozen Foundation, Establishment, Realm martial artists gathered nearby, all displaying vigilant expressions. Fang Chen was secretly awestruck. Is this truly a martial arts family? The clan's Foundation, Establishment realm powerhouses numbered over a dozen. This was almost more than the entire solitary Boat City combined. What was even more remarkable was that the black-faced middle-aged man leading them possessed immense power, having reached the 9th level of Foundation Establishment. Just one more step would elevate him to a core formation expert, comparable to the elders of the Qingyun sect. Patriarch Ding Wanping also spotted the black-faced middle-aged man, quickly dismounted, and respectfully called out. It turned out that the black-faced middle-aged man was none other than Ding Zhuhui, the patriarch of the Ding family. Upon realizing it was Ding Wanping and a group of Qingyun sect disciples, Ding Zhuhui finally lowered his guard. He asked with a hint of doubt, "Why have you returned?" Facing the patriarch, Ding Wanping was exceedingly humble, showing none of the impetuousness he displayed within the Qingyun sect. He reported, "Patriarch, Sect Master Liu has ordered the 10 of us to hasten to Yunyang City to eliminate the rebellious demonic beasts of 100 Beasts Mountain." Ding Zhuhui suddenly understood. His gaze swept over the individuals behind Ding Wanping, and his brows furrowed once more. Why are they all low-level disciples? At that moment, among the family members, a broad-shouldered, robust young man, radiating a cultivation base of the 8th level of Foundation Establishment, was present. He sneered, "If a mere illegitimate son of my Ding family can be a team leader, then naturally, the cultivation of the team members won't be high." Hearing these words, Ding Wanping looked at the young man and involuntarily clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with resentment. The young man before him was none other than Ding Tianxiang, the young master of the Ding family, a monstrous prodigy possessing an 8th grade spiritual root. He was now a disciple of the Tianji Pavilion. After half a year apart, his cultivation had reached the terrifying height of the 8th level of Foundation Establishment. Ding Tianxiang noticed his demeanor and mockingly asked, "What's wrong?" Do you still wish to challenge this young master? Ding Wanping quickly unclenched his fists, lowered his head, and replied, I wouldn't dare. He had joined the Qingyun sect, become an inner disciple, and through years of arduous cultivation, reached the 6th level of foundation establishment. Among the illegitimate sons of the Ding family, he was already exceptionally outstanding, but compared to the young master Ding Tianxiang, he was insignificant. The Qingyun sect disciples who had followed him were momentarily stunned to see Ding Wanping act so submissively. No wonder Ding Wanping never flaunted the power of his Ding family. It turned out he was merely an illegitimate son who wasn't highly regarded. Is that all you amount to? Ding Tianxiang snorted lightly, then proceeded to examine the disciples of the Qingyun sect. They were a motley crew, not a single one possessing passable strength. Ding Tianxiang then spotted Chen Xiling, whose elegant and otherworldly demeanor instantly captivated him. The Qingyun sect disciples may not have impressive aptitudes, but their appearances are truly quite good. He brazenly appraised Chen Xiling's graceful curves, smiling as he asked, Haven't you reached foundation establishment yet? Come to my room tonight, and I will guide you. The disciples of Qingyun sect were filled with shame and indignation. It was bad enough to be insulted as crooked gourds and cracked dates, but to openly flirt with their female disciples was simply an unbearable act of bullying. They turned their gaze towards Ding Wanping, the team leader for this expedition, hoping he would stand up for Chen Xiling. Ding Wanping, feeling helpless, could only brace himself and say, Young master, this is my junior sister from Tianjian Peak. Could you please give me some face and not trouble her? All right. Ding Tianxiang withdrew his presumptuous gaze and readily agreed. However, before he could even boast to his team, a solid slap landed squarely on his face. Ding Tianxiang's face was covered in blood. The iron-hard slap left a crimson handprint on his face. Is this face enough for you? After speaking, Ding Tianxiang delivered another slap to his other cheek. Asterisk clap asterisk, the extraordinarily crisp sound of the slap echoed all around. Let me give asterisk you asterisk face. What are you, anyway? After receiving 2 consecutive slaps, Ding Wanping's face was stinging, and his heart was filled with profound humiliation. To be slapped so openly in front of the Qingyun sect disciples meant his dignity was utterly lost. Yet he dared not express his anger, for the other party was Ding Tianxiang, an unparalleled prodigy whom he could not afford to offend. The disciples of Qingyun sect were struck silent with fear, unable to believe Ding Tianxiang's domineering arrogance and utter disregard for their sect. If Ding Wanping was treated this way, what fate would await them if they dared to step forward? After chastising Ding Wanping, Ding Tianxiang's gaze returned to Chen Xiling. He openly fixed his blatant stare upon her and said, See, they are nothing but a bunch of wastes. A year with them wouldn't compare to a single night with me. Come on, this young master will give you pleasant surprises, in every way. With a sneer, he reached out to grasp Chen Xiling's waist. Asterisk clang asterisk, but suddenly, a sword hum erupted, cold light scattered, and a sword shadow illuminated the figures. A powerful sword kai slashed directly towards Ding Tianxiang's glabella. Ding Tianxiang immediately sensed it and sneered. A mere ant dares to strike at me. He casually unleashed a punch, its fierce energy carrying a booming sound that reverberated against the approaching sword kai. The younger generation of the Ding family showed expressions of awe. It's one of the young master's ultimate techniques, a mid-profound tier fist art, the mountain's splitting fist. What immense power, even casually deployed. It would be unmatched by anyone below the 8th level of foundation establishment. This person is courting death, daring to attack the young master. Let's see how he survives this punch. However, no sooner had the words left his mouth than Ding Tianxiang's mountains splitting fist energy vanished in an instant, like a wisp of fog pierced by sunlight. The sword Kai was incredibly sharp. It dispersed the fist energy and instantly struck Ding Tianxiang's forehead. Ding Tianxiang was greatly alarmed and tried to dodge in a panic, but the sword Kai had already arrived, leaving no chance to evade it. Fortunately, Ding Zuhui, the head of the Ding family, was nearby. As soon as Fang Chen unleashed his sword, he recognized its extraordinary power, and thus he was prepared, throwing out a jade slip. The jade slip was pierced by the sword Kai, and from it emerged a cloud of water mist, enveloping the sword Kai. However, Ding Zuhui had underestimated the power of the sword heart engraving. Though the sword Kai was mostly diminished, it still cut through the water mist and struck Ding Tianxiang's forehead. A soft hum resonated. A bloodline, the length of an index finger, was carved into Ding Tianxiang's forehead. Drops of blood gathered into a trickle, flowing downwards. Flowing alongside it were the cold sweats of the Ding family members, who were struck with fear, for they all realized that at the last moment, Fang Chen had dispersed his sword Kai. Otherwise, what would have appeared on Ding Tianxiang's forehead would not have been a mere bloodline, but a crack piercing through his skull. Clang the sword sang as Fang Chen sheathed it, a chilling glint emanating from his eyes. Next time, everyone's heart trembled, feeling a chill run through their bodies, as if Fang Chen at this moment was an unparalleled killing sword. Once unsheathed, blood would surely flow. Ding Zuhui's eyes widened in surprise. He looked at Fang Chen properly for the first time and asked, "Who are you?" Chen Xiling firmly held Fang Chen's arm, her face beaming with pride as she declared, "Fang Chen, a disciple of the sect master Peak, and also my fiancé." She cast a provocative glance at Ding Tianxiang. What if he's a disciple of the heavenly secret pavilion? He still lost to Fang Chen's sword, didn't he? Thinking of this, she clutched Fang Chen's arm even tighter, as if she could feel more secure that way. Ding Tianxiang, having just narrowly escaped being struck, and then provoked by Chen Xiling, felt rage ignite in his chest. He circulated his spiritual energy and shouted, "Come, let's go again." He had been too careless just now. Otherwise, a dignified cultivator at the 8th layer of Foundation establishment would not have been so disgraced. "Silence!" Ding Zuhui rebuked. "Our guests are here. How can you be so rude?" If the visitor were a disciple from another peak, it would have been fine. His own son was a disciple of the heavenly secret pavilion. If he had injured the other party, their master wouldn't dare do much. But Fang Chen was the disciple of the Qingyun sect master. To allow him to be injured by a Ding family member would be to slap the Qingyun sect master in the face, wouldn't it? He immediately cupped his hands and said, "Esteemed disciples of the Qingyun sect, since you have been brought here by my Ding family junior, Ding Wanping, I, Ding, shall naturally act as your host. Wanping, arrange for them to stay in the manor." After speaking, he turned and departed. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped, frowned, and reminded, "Additionally, Master Qin will soon grace my Ding family with his presence. Please keep your companions in check and prevent them from wandering aimlessly around the manor, so as not to disturb Master Qin." Ding Wanping stood in respectful awe and replied, "Yes." The thought of Master Qin filled him with an innate reverence. A true first-rank soul master was a figure of immense importance, capable of causing an earthquake throughout Cloud Sun City with a mere stomp of their foot. Even Ding Tianxiang, his face still flushed with anger, immediately suppressed his rage upon learning of Master Qin's imminent arrival, daring not to cause further trouble. Having served in the Pavilion of Heavenly Secrets, he was even more acutely aware of the transcendent status held by soul masters. Even cultivators at the core formation stage could only consider themselves equals in the presence of a one-star soul master. For the Ding family, a clan without even a single core formation expert to gain the favor of a one-star soul master was an extraordinary stroke of luck. Should they displease him, leading him to refuse cooperation with the Ding family, he would become a historical sinner of their clan. Thus, the brief conflict came to an end. Ding Wanping led the group to the Ding family's guest chambers, arranging rooms for each disciple one by one. When it was Chen Siling's turn, he eagerly offered, "Junior sister Siling, you should stay next to my room. Should anything happen, I can rush to your aid immediately." Chen Siling calmly stated, "There's no need for senior brother to worry. Fang Chen and I can share a room." If something truly went wrong, could Ding Wanping really protect her? The earlier incident had already provided the answer. A sharp pain pierced Ding Wanping's chest, and he glared at Fang Chen with jealousy, saying, "Junior sister, don't overestimate Fang Chen. He only gained a slight advantage over Ding Tianxiang just now because he caught him off guard. If they were to truly fight, Fang Chen would be a dead dog within 3 moves." Hearing this, a hint of disgust appeared on Chen Siling's cold face, and she retorted unceremoniously, "That's still better than standing there and taking slaps without daring to fight back." The other disciples looked at Ding Wanping. Although their faces showed no expression, they held a varying degree of disdain in their hearts. Even if Fang Chen's cultivation was weak, at least he dared to act on behalf of Chen Siling and successfully injured their opponent. And Ding Wanping, he only dared to be fierce in front of those weaker than himself, yet when facing Ding Tianxiang, he didn't even have the courage to retaliate. What right did he have to look down on Fang Chen? Unable to bear the humiliation, Ding Wanping clenched his fists and glared at Fang Chen with undisguised hatred, challenging, "Do you dare to compete with me and see who is the hero and who is the coward?" He could not endure the disgrace and desperately wanted to prove himself, to reclaim some of his lost dignity in front of the Qingyun sect disciples and Chen Siling. He couldn't defeat Ding Tianxiang, but dealing with Fang Chen should be effortless, right? Fang Chen was growing tired of this person's repeated pestering. Since his opponent sought what he deserved, he might as well give him a quick end. "Fine," Fang Chen said without hesitation. Ding Wanping gripped his sword hilt and commanded, "Follow me." The group then moved to the Ding family's martial arts training ground. The other disciples were also very curious. Where did Fang Chen get the confidence to engage Ding Wanping in a direct confrontation? After all, the latter was an experienced disciple who had broken through to the 6th level of Foundation establishment a considerable time ago. With a solid foundation and rich combat experience, Fang Chen had only joined the Qingyun sect a month ago. The two stepped out from the crowd, each gripping their weapon, standing opposite one another, ready to strike. At the same time, Master Qin Long, awaited by the Ding family, finally arrived. He was none other than Qin Wenyuan, who had journeyed 1,000 miles with his entire clan from Guizhou City. Yunyang City was far more prosperous than Guizhou City, making it very suitable for the Qin family's redevelopment. Given that the Qin family had just arrived, establishing a foothold here meant contending for territory with the local martial arts families. Therefore, Qin Wenyuan wisely chose to form an alliance with the Ding family, first eliminating the other 2 major martial arts families to secure their position. "Master Qin, you have finally arrived." Ding Zuhui led the entire Ding family to respectfully welcome the mighty Qin family procession outside the city gates. Ding Tianxiang accompanied him, also showing utmost respect to Qin Wenyuan. "Master Qin, I am Ding Tianxiang, a disciple of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. Welcome to our Ding family." He revealed his identity, undoubtedly aiming to increase the Ding family's bargaining chips, hoping to gain more benefits in the alliance. Qin Wenyuan, however, let out a half-smile, half-sneer. "Is Elder Fei Yunlun of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion doing well?" Ding Tianxiang was startled upon hearing this. "Master Qin knows my master." Fei Yunlun was none other than Ding Tianxiang's master, a grand cultivator at the 8th stage of core formation. He was deeply shocked that Qin Wenyuan actually knew him. More than just know him, Qin Wenyuan stroked his beard and said, "Elder Fei Yunlun should address me as senior brother when he sees me. We once belonged to the same sect. However, I later discovered my soul talent and went on to specialize in soul mastery. By extension, you should consider me your martial uncle." Upon hearing this, Ding Tianxiang was greatly moved, his heart filled with even deeper reverence. His already bent waist sank even lower as he declared, "Tianxiang greets martial uncle." Ding Zuhui dared not be presumptuous and also followed suit, saying, "This junior greets Master Qin." He felt immense pressure. Qin Wenyuan was not only a one-star soul master, but also his son's martial uncle. If he were displeased, couldn't he sway his son's future and determine the Ding family's rise or fall? Recalling this, his demeanor became even more respectful. Amidst their utmost respect, Qin Wenyuan received unprecedented high-level treatment and arrived at the Ding family's residence. The alliance discussed by both parties naturally encountered no obstacles. Ding Zuhui could only accept all the numerous conditions proposed by Qin Wenyuan, daring not to object. Fortunately, Qin Wenyuan was not a greedy individual. Although some conditions were harsh, they were still acceptable. With the alliance settled, Ding Zuhui let out a long breath, his anxious heart finally at ease. "Master Qin, the banquet is ready. Please follow me." Accompanied by them, Qin Wenyuan walked towards the dining hall in excellent spirits. He felt greatly comforted, thinking, leaving Lone Boat City may not be a bad thing. As long as we don't provoke that three-star soul master again, the Qin family will be even more glorious than before. As he walked, passing the training ground, his peripheral vision caught sight of a group of people. When he saw a figure standing tall in the training ground, he couldn't help but freeze. He couldn't believe his eyes, rubbing his old eyes before looking intently again. Who else could it be but Fang Chen? For a moment, he felt a ridiculous sense of questioning his entire existence. He had moved his entire clan, leading his people 1,000 miles to Cloud Sun City, believing he would never encounter that person again in this lifetime. Who would have thought he ran into him just upon arrival? Seeing Qin Wenyuan frozen in place, Ding Zuhui was puzzled and followed his gaze. He then saw Ding Wanping and Fang Chen about to fight, and his heart sank. Today was a good day for the alliance between their two families. It was not appropriate for bloodshed. Could Qin Wenyuan be averse to this, taking offense? Alarmed and enraged, he quickly stepped forward and reprimanded Ding Wanping. "Are you deaf? I told you not to disturb Master Qin, so why did you bring people to the training ground? Get out!" Ding Wanping, who was just about to avenge his past humiliation, was startled. He glanced back and saw Qin Wenyuan, surrounded as if by stars. He couldn't help but be terrified, quickly lowering his head and hurrying away. The disciples of Qingyun's sect also clicked their tongues in dismay, realizing they had disturbed Master Qin. They then hastily departed. Fang Chen looked on curiously, and upon realizing it was indeed Qin Wenyuan, his mouth twitched slightly. They could meet even here. As today was the day of alliance between Qin Wenyuan and the Ding family, he found it inappropriate to greet him, so he pretended not to recognize him and left. Meanwhile, Qin Wenyuan, whose heart had been tense, noticed that Fang Chen showed no other expression, and he breathed a sigh of relief. He secretly murmured to himself, "Our Qin family's relocation of the entire clan already served as our punishment. Naturally, Master Fang would no longer hold it against us." Thinking of this, his mind became active. Since he no longer holds a grudge, could we perhaps forge a connection? That's a three-star soul master. Even a small bit of his teaching would be enough for a lifetime of understanding. However, he also understood that a rash attempt at connection would be an offense. Suddenly, he recalled Ding Wanping, who had been sparring with Fang Chen. He couldn't help but ask, Patriarch, among those who sparred just now, was one of them a junior from your Ding family? Ding Zhuhui replied uneasily, He is an illegitimate son of my Ding family. He is ignorant and offended Master Qin. Please don't take him seriously. He utterly despises Ding Wanping. This individual is more likely to ruin things than to accomplish anything. However, Qin Wenyuan continued to inquire, then what is his relationship with that Qingyun sect youth who sparred earlier? Are you referring to Fang Chen? How could Ding Zhuhui possibly say otherwise? He immediately nodded and said, Ding Wanping is the leader for this mission, and his relationship with Fang Chen is exceptionally good. With that, Qin Wenyuan felt reassured. Since Fang Chen had a good relationship with the Ding family, then as an ally of the Ding family, he would effectively befriend Fang Chen in the future. However, Ding Wanping's status was somewhat low, and he could not represent the Ding family. After a brief deliberation, he smiled and said, I observe that Ding Wanping possesses an extraordinary demeanor, and he is destined for greatness. If he were to become the young master of the Ding family, its future would undoubtedly flourish. Ding Zhuhui was greatly astonished. He had never imagined that Qin Wenyuan would want to appoint Ding Wanping as the new young master of the Ding family. Wasn't Ding Tianx Yang far more outstanding than Ding Wanping? Ding Tianx Yang also felt dismayed. What was happening? Why would Qin Wenyuan admire Ding Wanping? The other members of the Ding family also wore expressions of disbelief, their gazes simultaneously turning to Ding Zhuhui, awaiting his decision. What else could Ding Zhuhui do? Although he favored Ding Tianx Yang more, Ding Wanping was clearly more favored by Master Qin, and at least during their alliance, Master Qin could not be displeased. Thus, he could only pat Ding Tianxiang's shoulder and say, Tianxiang, I'm sorry to trouble you. From today onwards, the position of young master shall be held by Ding Wanping. Ding Tianxiang felt a myriad of unwillingness in his heart, yet he could not reveal it, only nodding sullenly. Soon, the group who had just returned to their chambers was caught up by an elder of the clan. Wanping, quickly come with me to the ancestral hall. The patriarch intends to appoint you as the new generation's young master of the Ding family. The disciples of the Qingyun sect were utterly bewildered. Out of the blue, how had Ding Wanping become the new young master? Wasn't Ding Tianxiang serving as young master? By what virtue or ability could Ding Wanping seize his position? Ding Wanping was also stunned on the spot, suspecting he had misheard. Elder, have you made a mistake? The elder, however, had a joyous expression and said, Just now, Master Qin glanced at you from afar and was highly impressed. It was upon his suggestion that the patriarch decided to appoint you as the new young master. Ding Wanping was immediately overwhelmed with flattery and pointed to himself in disbelief. What was his status? He didn't even have the qualification to meet Master Qin. Now, however, he had gained Master Qin's favor. The sudden surprise left him dizzy and disoriented, and it took him a while to recover. Trembling with excitement, he couldn't help but exclaim to the Qingyun sect disciples behind him, Did you hear that? Did you hear that? I've been favored by Master Qin. Most of the disciples looked on with admiration. To be favored by a soul master was indeed a great honor. Fang Chen and Chen Xiling, however, looked perplexed. Why would Qin Wenyuan favor Ding Wanping? Chen Xiling, with her sharp mind, subtly rolled her eyes and murmured, Could it be that Qin Wenyuan misunderstood the relationship between Fang Chen and Ding Wanping? Fang Chen also vaguely suspected something. However, whether Ding Wanping became the young master or not had nothing to do with him, so he didn't expose it. Yet his demeanor displeased Ding Wanping. What, Fang Chen, are you jealous of me? Ding Wanping said smugly, I am now not only the young master of the Ding family, but also a favorite in front of Master Qin. What do you have to compete with me? Fang Chen moved his lips, but ultimately held his tongue, too lazy to question how he had gained Qin Wenyuan's favor. He simply said to Chen Xiling, "Let's return to our room to rest for a while, then go out to search for traces of demon beasts at dusk." Many demon beasts prefer to act after dark, which was their true objective for this trip. Chen Xiling nodded, her fair cheeks slightly flushed, and followed Fang Chen back to their room. This greatly displeased Ding Wanping. "You cur, I am now the young master of the Ding family, and I can mobilize the entire clan's strength to help me hunt demon beasts. What do you have to compete with me?" In the room, Fang Chen took out a booklet filled with illustrations, found in the bag Elder Zhao Wuji had given him. It contained images and detailed descriptions of various demon beasts, including their habits, talents, attack methods, and weaknesses. Chen Xiling, watching beside him, felt dizzy, rubbing her weary eyes as she said, "My dear, there are thousands of types of demon beasts in this atlas. Even if you read through it all, you might not remember them." She admitted that knowing oneself and one's enemy leads to victory in 100 battles. Understanding demon beasts would indeed make hunting them more efficient. However, the types of demon beasts in 100 Beasts Mountain were unknown, and even if Fang Chen had seen them in the atlas, he might not remember them all. Time was too short. In just 2 days, Fang Chen simply wouldn't have enough time to familiarize himself. At this moment, Fang Chen finished turning the last page, gently closed the booklet, and the contents of the various atlases clearly appeared in his mind. As soon as any type of demon beast appeared, he would immediately be able to identify it. The green light spots from the Grand Void Divine Tree had not only enhanced his comprehension, but also seemed to have significantly improved his memory. An atlas of demon beasts that ordinary people would take a month or even several months to fully master, he had completely memorized in 2 days. Even if Ding Wanping had more people, he might not be as efficient as Fang Chen when hunting the same demon beasts. Fang Chen held her delicate hand, pulling her into his embrace, and tenderly said, "Don't worry. I will earn enough merit points for both of us to cultivate in the Sacred Hall." Chen Xiling's fair cheeks flushed slightly as she listened to Fang Chen's strong, powerful heartbeat, feeling an inexplicable contentment. Just as the two were engrossed in their intimate moment, an urgent knocking at the door interrupted their private atmosphere. "Junior brother Fang, junior sister Chen, the city is under attack by demon beasts." Fang Chen's expression changed, and he immediately took Chen Xiling out, joining the other disciples. Half a day later, Ding Wanping successfully inherited the position of young master. Not only had he changed into a brand new brocade robe, but the Ding family also provided him with a mid-grade magic artifact. Most importantly, Ding Tianxiang and several young powerful individuals from the clan accompanied him like bodyguards. Watching Fang Chen emerge, Ding Wanping proudly declared, "Allow me to introduce you. These are my attendants. I'm bringing them along to eliminate the demonic beasts, and all merit points will be credited to me. Any problem with that?" The other disciples felt indignant. Why should it be like that? They were all fighting alone, yet Ding Wanping brought an entire group, including Ding Tianxiang, whose cultivation had reached the 8th level of Foundation establishment. Apart from the Demon King, any beast that appeared would surely be killed by them, wouldn't it? They had traveled a long distance only to find themselves unable to even get a sip of soup. Ding Wanping had taken all the meat for himself. However, this was the Ding family's territory, and even if they were dissatisfied, there was nothing they could do. What could they do, lacking attendants themselves? Fang Chen remained expressionless and said, "As you wish." Demonic beasts possess various talents, and without understanding this, killing them may not be an easy task. Ding Wanping scoffed, "Such a hard mouth. I wonder if you'll be as tough when it comes to slaying demonic beasts. Boom! Suddenly, a huge sound came from the East City gate. It was clear without a doubt that demonic beasts were attacking the city. The disciples immediately followed. Ding Wanping further commanded, Ding Tianxiang, secure the first kill for me. I won't allow that fellow Fang to get ahead of me. A flicker of anger crossed Ding Tianxiang's eyes. How long had it been since this useless person, whom he had never even acknowledged, dared to command him? However, remembering Master Qin's favor towards him, he could only grit his teeth, circulate his spiritual energy, and rush forward with great speed. Soon the crowd arrived, and upon seeing the deeply dented city wall, they were all astonished. The city wall, built of stacked stones, was thought to be impregnable, yet an unknown demonic beast had slammed into it, leaving a dent 10 feet deep. The terrifying force of the impact sent shivers down everyone's spine. Should one be directly hit by such a blow, their intestines would surely be ruptured, their internal organs shattered, leading to death. Everyone, be careful. Ding Wanping's face was grim as he warned. The demonic beast was far stronger than he had anticipated. Indeed, as his gaze swept across the scene, he saw Ding Tianxiang struggling to contend with a massive creature covered in earthy yellow scales, resembling a hippopotamus. Unlike a hippopotamus, its eyes were blood red, and its mouth was filled with fearsome teeth, both upper and lower, shaped like wolf fangs. Its snout was rounded and black, occasionally emitting an eerie red glow. Ding Tianxiang, with his cultivation reaching the 8th level of Foundation establishment, unleashed various powerful moves. However, when they struck the demonic beast, they only left faint bloodstains. Not only did he fail to slay it, but he instead provoked the demonic beast into a furious rage, preventing Ding Tianxiang, who had arrived first, from completing the kill. Ding Wanping was utterly astonished. What kind of demonic beast is this? The disciples present, along with the accompanying young strong cultivators of the Ding family, all wore bewildered expressions. No one recognized the demonic beast before them. Fang Chen was also surprised. There's actually such a demonic beast in 100 Beasts Mountain. This is a rare anomaly among demon beasts, known as the mountain splitter beast. The scales on its body are top, grade material for crafting defensive artifacts, incredibly hard, making it difficult for ordinary artifact techniques to pierce through. Without understanding its weakness, even cultivators several levels higher than it would be useless. Yet, this type of demon beast is rarely seen even in distant beast tides. Surprisingly, one was hidden in the 100 Beasts Mountain. He pondered the mountain splitter beast's weakness in his mind, then decisively drew his black sword and leaped from the city wall. Seeing Fang Chen make his move, Ding Wanping grew anxious and ordered the remaining Ding clan members to join the battle. Already struggling to rampage under Ding Tianxiang's suppression, the mountain splitter beast, now facing several more young powerhouses from the Ding family, was immediately battered and overwhelmed. This completely ignited the mountain splitter beast's fury. As it repelled several people, it let out a thunderous roar to the sky. Its pitch black nose immediately glowed with an intense crimson, like a searing hot iron. Fang Chen witnessed this scene, his eyelids twitching violently, and he shouted, "Everyone, get out of the way." He quickly employed his movement technique and leaped to a safe distance. Ding Tianxiang also sensed the danger and, without a word, swiftly moved away. The several young powerhouses from the Ding family also perceived the danger and quickly scattered. The mountain splitter beast fixed its gaze on Ding Tianxiang and charged at him with a furious roar. Behind Ding Tianxiang was the city wall, leaving him no escape. In the nick of time, a Qingyun sect disciple dropped a rope ladder, which he then grabbed, leaping upwards. He barely managed to avoid the mountain splitter beast's impact. With a deafening boom, the city wall was once again struck, leaving a 10-foot-deep indentation. Had he been hit squarely just now, unimaginable. He wiped away cold sweat, displaying the look of someone who had narrowly escaped death. But Fang Chen warned again, "Be careful, it's not over yet." The mountain splitter beast suddenly raised its head, its crimson nostrils expelling an invisible force towards Ding Tianxiang. A solid, crimson ripple of energy rapidly surged towards Ding Tianxiang. Ding Tianxiang was greatly alarmed. Even before the ripple struck, he felt its immense danger. If hit, the impact force within the ripple would undoubtedly shatter his body. In this critical moment, he steeled himself and yanked hard on the rope ladder. The Qingyun sect disciple holding the ladder above was caught off guard and pulled down. Ding Tianxiang, leveraging the force, leaped upwards, successfully grabbing the edge of the city wall and flipping back onto it. However, the Qingyun sect disciple who was pulled down screamed, falling straight downwards and unfortunately faced the crimson ripple head on. This scene provoked furious roars from the Qingyun sect disciples. They had kindly come to rescue Ding Tianxiang, only to be thrown under the bus by him. However, in a flash, they had no time to rescue their companion and could only hear his helpless screams. Fang Chen's expression also changed dramatically. He never expected Ding Tianxiang to be so despicable. Disregarding all else, he immediately employed his movement technique, scaling the city wall as if walking on eaves, and just as the red ripples struck, he managed to catch the Qingyun sect disciple, narrowly dodging the encroaching wave. Boom! The ripples ultimately struck the edge of the city wall, instantly shattering a gap several feet long, causing the numerous disciples on the wall to turn pale with fright. Can we really handle this demon beast? We should quickly inform the experts of the Ding family and ask them to intervene. Someone began to waver. Even Ding Tianxiang dared not attack rashly anymore. He said, "This beast is beyond our capabilities. Quickly notify the experts of the three great families." As for the disciples left outside the city, they could only pray for good fortune. After repeated failed attacks, the mountain's splitting beast became enraged, its red eyes glaring fiercely at Fang Chen as it pawed at the earth, assuming an attacking stance. Fang Chen set down the rescued Qingyun sect disciple and urged, "Hurry and go." With that, he grasped his black sword, holding his breath and focusing his mind. Though the mountain's splitting beast was indeed formidable and invulnerable to blades and spears, its weakness was also extremely apparent. Rumble, the mountain's splitting beast suddenly sprang forward, its nose once again emitting a red light. The many disciples who had witnessed the terror of its nose felt their hearts leap into their throats, shouting, "Get out of the way! Quickly! Run, junior brother Fang!" However, instead of dodging, Fang Chen focused on its rapidly gathering power and its red nose, which was about to unleash its innate ability, and charged forward with all his might using his movement technique. The mountain's splitting beast was startled by Fang Chen's sudden action. A look of panic flashed in its eyes, and it hastily tried to retract the red light from its nose, but it was already too late. In an instant, Fang Chen surged forward, and just as the last trace of red light dissipated from its nose, he thrust his sword. Strangely enough, while the mountain's splitting beast's entire body was as hard as iron, including its nose, when accumulating red energy, its nose became incredibly soft. The black sword instantly pierced it, and propelled by the mountain's splitting beast's forward momentum, the blade continually plunged deeper until only the hilt remained visible. At this moment, the black sword had already pierced through the mountain's splitting beast's skull. As Fang Chen activated his spiritual energy, the black sword vibrated fiercely, shattering everything inside its skull. The mountain's splitting beast let out a pained roar, blood spewing from its 7 orifices, and its massive body crashed to the ground. Fang Chen pulled out the black sword, and a spurt of white brain matter, encapsulating an earthy yellow spherical pearl, gushed out. Fang Chen, who had anticipated this, grabbed it with one hand. This was the demon beast's core, containing both demonic power and some of its innate abilities. The mountain's splitting beast's innate ability possessed immense power. If this beast core could be refined into a magic artifact, it would possess some ability to split mountains and cleave rocks, fetching a good price. Of course, its scales were also valuable. Fang Chen saw no reason to waste them, and stripped off all the scales. Besides these, its sinews, organs, blood, and flesh were all valuable commodities. Sure enough, as soon as the scales were stripped, merchants from the city rushed out and bought all the remaining parts for the high price of 200 spirit stones. On the city wall, the disciples watched in stunned amazement. Junior brother Fang has killed the mountain's splitting beast. This was a formidable demonic beast that even Ding Tianxiang and many young experts from the Ding family, working together, had been powerless against. More than just powerless, they had clearly been chased and forced into a pathetic retreat. Indeed, as expected, our Qingyun sect disciples are truly formidable. These martial arts families are simply mediocre. At this moment, Ding Zhuhui, sensing that something was amiss, arrived leading the clan's formidable experts. What is happening? Why is the commotion so immense? They had initially believed they could easily deal with the demonic beasts attacking the city. However, upon hearing several earth-shattering commotions, they realized something was wrong and immediately rushed over. Coincidentally, at this very moment, the corpse of the mountain's splitting beast, stripped of its scales, was being carried into the city by merchants from below. Ding Zhuhui's pupils constricted. A mountain's splitting beast. Just a few days ago, it was this very beast that led the demonic creatures in attacking the city, and injured the patriarch of the Hong family. You actually slew it. Immediately, he looked towards Ding Tianxiang, his face revealing intense surprise and joy. Tianxiang, you have truly astonished your father. Your father will surely publicize this matter widely, making sure that Yunyang City and the Tianji Pavilion know that an extraordinary true dragon has emerged from my Ding family. Ding Tianxiang's face was grim. He remained silent with a sullen expression. The rescued Qingyun sect disciple crawled back, coincidentally overhearing these words, and couldn't help but sneer. Patriarch Ding, you would do well not to overestimate your own son. The killing of this mountain's splitting beast has absolutely nothing to do with him. It was my junior brother Fang who slew it single-handedly. What, Fang Chen? Ding Zhuhui found it unbelievable. After all, he had personally witnessed how formidable the mountain's splitting beast was. What level of cultivation does Fang Chen possess to be able to slay it alone? Tianxiang, is this truly the case? Ding Zhuhui asked with a frown. Ding Tianxiang glared fiercely at Fang Chen, grudgingly saying, he merely got lucky and killed it haphazardly. Hearing these words, Ding Zhuhui stroked his beard and nodded. It could only be attributed to luck. Otherwise, there would be no reason for an unknown junior to successfully solo defeat a monstrous beast that his own son could not kill. At this very moment, several plumes of dust suddenly rose from the distant mountain forest, accompanied by the sound of snapping vegetation being crushed and torn apart. It seemed as though something was approaching this location in large groups. Ding Zhuhui's expression changed slightly as he exclaimed, "It's a horde of beasts." He suddenly realized the mountain-rending beast was merely an advance scout, breaking through the city first to clear a path for the beast horde that followed. To think these demonic beasts possessed such high intelligence. As doubts and surprise lingered, more than a dozen demonic beasts indeed charged out from the mountain forest. Only 3 of them were at the Kai condensation realm, while the remaining 10 were all at the Foundation establishment realm. Most were fur-covered beasts, no longer of the seemingly indestructible type. Ding Wanping's eyes lit up as he declared, Now it's finally my turn to show what I can do. Ding Tianxiang, and all of you, charge forward for this young master, kill. Ding Tianxiang cast a sideways glance at Ding Wanping. However, seeing that Fang Chen had already engaged the beast horde, he immediately leaped down from the city wall. Moreover, he had already fallen behind Fang Chen twice, including at the entrance of the Ding Manor. This filled him with suppressed fury. Consequently, when confronted by a demonic beast, he attacked with full force. However, this group of demonic beasts was quite powerful, although not as troublesome as the mount in rending beast. Each possessed agile bodies, sharp claws and fangs, and specialized in various strange innate abilities. For instance, the demonic wolf he currently faced could employ sound wave attacks. With a furious roar, the sound waves numbed his body. Had his spiritual power not been strong enough to dispel the paralysis in time, the demonic wolf would have ripped open his belly with a single claw. Only after several dozen rounds did he narrowly manage to slay one demonic wolf. Meanwhile, casualties had already begun to appear elsewhere. Several disciples of the Ding family had been bitten by the demonic beasts, some even dying on the spot. The scene was exceptionally brutal. This caused Ding Zhuhui on the city wall immense distress. Yet, what he found even more unacceptable was that while the Ding family disciples struggled immensely to slay the demonic beasts, a supremely agile figure, like a ghost, darted through the beast horde. Wielding a black sword, he was dormant until he struck, and when he did, his movements were swift, precise, and ruthless, unerringly hitting the demonic beast's vital points. A single sword strike proved fatal. In less than half an hour, he had already slain 5 Foundation, Establishment Realm demonic beasts. In contrast, the Ding family only had Ding Tianxiang slay a single beast. Such a stark contrast left Ding Wanping consumed by anxiety, wondering, what is going on with Fang Chen? Despite his seemingly modest cultivation level, he slays demonic beasts with greater ease than even Ding Tianxiang. If this continues, won't all the merit points be claimed by him? Ding Zhuhui could no longer remain passive. Fang Chen was not merely slaying demonic beasts, he was also openly challenging the Ding family's prestige. If Qin Wenyuan were to discover the Ding family's inadequacy, how would he view them, and what would become of their cooperation? Gritting his teeth, he rushed down from the city wall, joining the ranks in slaying the demonic beasts. The disciples of Qingyun sect were utterly speechless. The head of the Ding family was forced to sacrifice his pride. With the addition of a cultivator at the 9th level of Foundation Establishment, the predicament of the Ding family members significantly improved. Centering around him and Ding Tianxiang, the Ding family members, working together, found it much easier to slay demonic beasts. As the city wall remained unbroken, the demonic beasts were caught off guard and trapped outside, with no means of escape, thus becoming targets for Fang Chen and the Ding family's coordinated assault. Before long, this small group of demonic beasts was completely annihilated, with not a single one remaining. The final tally. Fang Chen alone slayed 7 Foundation Establishment Realm demonic beasts, while the Ding family, working together, slayed 3 Foundation Establishment Realm demonic beasts and 3 Kai Condensation Realm demonic beasts. When converted into merit points, Fang Chen's individual contribution surpassed the combined total of the entire Ding family. Ding Wanping, unable to believe his eyes, angrily questioned Fang Chen. Are you cheating? His skepticism was understandable. Even the Qingyun sect disciples, who had stood on the city wall and not yet had a chance to act, found it somewhat unacceptable. Their combined gains were less than half of Fang Chen's. It was indeed an elder of the Qingyun sect who uttered these words. They had always looked down upon Fang Chen, viewing him as an outsider who relied merely on petty tricks. Yet now, this very person whom they disdained had independently achieved such remarkable results in a major battle. This is impossible, absolutely impossible. The head of the Ding family roared, his face ashen. How could one person achieve such a feat? It must be cheating, there must be some trick involved. Master, please calm your anger, a Qingyun sect elder hastily interjected. We do not know how he accomplished this, but given the facts, we must acknowledge it. However, we cannot give up now. This battle is merely the beginning. There will be more opportunities. We must find a way to defeat him and reclaim our rightful glory. The Ding family patriarch let out a cold snort, evidently displeased with the situation. However, he also understood that this was not the moment for anger, and he needed to calm down to carefully consider a strategy. At this very moment, a tremor emanated from the distance, capturing the attention of all present. A colossal beast was seen charging towards them, its massive form towering dozens of feet high, radiating an immense aura that instinctively instilled fear in all who perceived it. "What is that?" the Ding family patriarch inquired, his eyes wide with disbelief. "That is the Beast King." The Qingyun sect elder's expression shifted, and he declared gravely, "We are facing a grave predicament." The Beast King drew steadily closer, its menacing eyes fixed directly upon the people gathered on the city wall. It seemed poised to devour them whole. A palpable sense of dread seized everyone, and they all began to prepare for an encounter with this formidable adversary. At this precise moment, a figure abruptly leapt from the city wall, charging directly towards the Beast King. "It's Fang Chen!" the Ding family patriarch exclaimed in astonishment. Fang Chen was observed, long sword in hand, moving with fluid grace, soaring and leaping through the air as he engaged the Beast King in a fierce combat. The two exchanged powerful blows, each technique formidable, leaving all spectators utterly dumbfounded. He dares to confront the Beast King by himself. This is nothing short of suicidal. The Ding family patriarch could not help but exclaim. Yet, just as everyone was convinced of Fang Chen's inevitable demise, he suddenly executed an unprecedented, masterful technique. With a swift flourish of his long sword, a dazzling beam of sword light arced directly towards the Beast King's throat. The Beast King emitted an earth-shattering roar as its massive body toppled, crashing heavily to the ground with a deafening thud. All present were utterly stunned, finding the unfolding events beyond belief. He actually defeated the Beast King, the Ding family patriarch murmured to himself. An expression of utter disbelief etched upon his face. The elders of the Qingyun sect exchanged glances, uncertain how to respond to such a turn of events. That this outsider, whom they had consistently underestimated, could single-handedly vanquish such a formidable Beast King was truly beyond comprehension. As everyone remained engrossed in their astonishment, Fang Chen landed steadily on the ground, his long sword still grasped firmly, his expression entirely unperturbed. "Didn't expect that, did you?" he sneered. "I'm not the master of petty tricks you talk about." The Ding family patriarch gritted his teeth, wishing he could immediately charge forward and engage Fang Chen in battle. Yet he was acutely aware that, in his current state, he was likely no match for the individual before him. What exactly is your background?" he could not help but ask. Fang Chen smiled faintly. "I am merely an ordinary person. It is simply that I possess my own cultivation method, which allows me to surpass ordinary individuals." "A cultivation method?" The Ding family patriarch frowned. "Could it be that you learned some secret manual from somewhere?" "A secret manual?" Fang Chen laughed. "I have no secret manual. I merely rely on my own understanding and diligent effort. What you refer to as talent, in my view, is nothing more than a limitation. As long as one is willing to put in the effort, anyone can surpass themselves. The Ding family patriarch fell silent. He seemed to grasp Fang Chen's meaning. This individual's remarkable achievements were not due to any special means, but rather to his own hard work and perseverance. This revelation led him to view Fang Chen with newfound respect. "It appears we underestimated you," an elder from the Azure Cloud sect finally spoke. "However, this is merely the beginning. In the battles to come, we will undoubtedly give our all, and will not grant you another opportunity to defeat us." Fang Chen smiled faintly, "Then let us await the outcome." With that, he turned and departed, leaving the others deep in thought. This battle had undoubtedly been a tremendous shock to them, and they realized they must reassess themselves to achieve victory in subsequent engagements. After Fang Chen's departure, the Ding family patriarch and the elders of the Azure Cloud sect fell into deep contemplation. Everything that had just transpired made them realize their assessment of Fang Chen might have been flawed. "We have consistently underestimated him," the Ding family patriarch sighed. "Not only is his strength formidable, but he also possesses a unique cultivation method. We must reevaluate his power and devise new strategies." An elder from the Azure Cloud sect nodded. "Indeed. We previously believed he relied solely on minor tricks, yet we never anticipated he could single-handedly defeat a beast king. This indicates his strength far surpasses our imagination. We must swiftly discover his weaknesses and then defeat him." The Ding family patriarch narrowed his eyes. "Only then can we reclaim the glory that belongs to us. However, we must also be cautious," another elder interjected. "We just witnessed his power firsthand, and it has already exceeded our expectations. We must not underestimate him, or we risk suffering even greater losses." Everyone fell silent for a moment, ultimately reaching a consensus. They had to act cautiously, yet also give their all, to secure victory in the upcoming battle. It was at this moment that a disciple from the Azure Cloud sect hurriedly ran over. "Elders, news has just arrived that Fang Chen has ventured into the demonic beast forest alone." The Ding family patriarch and the elders looked at the disciple in astonishment. "He went to the demonic beast forest by himself. That place is fraught with danger. Doesn't he know that? He is said to be searching for a special medicinal herb," the disciple explained. "It seems he intends to use this herb to enhance his own strength." The Ding family patriarch and the elders exchanged glances, a hint of worry rising in their hearts. If Fang Chen truly discovered some secret within the demonic beast forest, it would become a significant hidden danger. They had to act swiftly to thwart Fang Chen's plan. "Send people to the demonic beast forest immediately and ensure Fang Chen is intercepted," commanded the Ding family patriarch. "We cannot allow him to succeed." Everyone nodded in agreement and promptly sprang into action. This time, they absolutely could not allow Fang Chen to gain the upper hand again. The Azure Cloud sect disciples standing on the flying beasts were caught off guard, and the beasts crashed about in panic. The flying beast beneath Fang Chen and Chen, Xiling, accidentally collided with a nearby one, losing control and tumbling in midair. Fang Chen managed to grab the beast's neck in time, but Chen Xiling was not as quick and was immediately flung off. The place where she was falling was directly into the gaping maw of the white-furred emerald beast. "Damn it!" Fang Chen let out a low growl and leaped down. He decisively unleashed a partial Earth rank move he had comprehended from the Maha Stone Tablet Star-Shattering Triad, Army Breaker. His profound spiritual energy condensed to its limit, transforming into a materialized Kai arrow that shot forth from his body, instantly grazing Chen Xiling's arm and piercing into the white-furred emerald beast's mouth. Poof, this was an Earth rank finger technique. Even a half-meter thick stone wall could be effortlessly pierced. Even if the white-furred emerald beast was a beast king of the core formation realm, how could its vulnerable throat withstand such a strike? The Kai arrow pierced through its throat, sending a spray of blood gushing from its neck. The white-furred emerald beast let out a pained roar. Its massive body plummeted from mid-air to the ground, shaking the earth with a resounding thud. Seizing this opportunity, Fang Chen caught Chen Xiling, then scaled the several, Zhang, high city wall, moving along its eaves and walls as he ran towards the city interior. Some fleeing martial artists inadvertently looked back and witnessed this scene, their faces all showing expressions of shock and awe. A mere disciple at the 4th level of Foundation establishment had actually wounded a beast king. However, the white-furred jade crystal beast was completely enraged, its red eyes fixed on Fang Chen, emitting an incredibly fierce glare. With a powerful leap, it pounced towards Fang Chen, who was climbing the city wall. Fang Chen felt a vast shadow envelop him from behind. The foul, bloody wind from the Beast King's mouth assailed him. All the hairs on his body stood on end at that moment. An immense crisis suddenly descended upon him. In this critical moment, he decisively drew his black sword and, without looking back, unleashed an incredibly fierce sword strike. The Sword of Sundered Light. Lacking the time to gather sufficient spiritual power, he was forced to execute the first form of the sword heart meteor engraving technique. As the longsword struck, the air churned, and the intensely chilling sword Kai, upon impacting the white-furred jade crystal beast behind him, immediately erupted into an earth-shattering thunderous explosion. Chen Xiling, completely unprepared, was instantly shaken, her delicate body trembling and her ears ringing. Even more unexpected for the white-furred jade crystal beast, this inconspicuous human actually possessed a second earth-tier cultivation technique. The sword Kai blasted away large patches of fur from its head, revealing eerie white bone. The bone was covered in dense cracks. This single sword strike had actually injured its very bones and tendons. Simultaneously, it also knocked the beast down from the city wall. Seizing this opportunity, Fang Chen successfully climbed onto the city wall and then leaped into the city. Blood stained the white-furred jade crystal beast's head, making its already ferocious face appear even more terrifying. With bloodshot eyes, it leaped back onto the city wall, fiercely scanned the crowd, quickly locked onto Fang Chen, and with a ruthless glint in its eyes, immediately jumped into the city to pursue him. With a single stomp, it effortlessly collapsed a house. Along its path, rows of houses collapsed, emitting thunderous roars. Fang Chen turned to look, and a shiver ran down his spine. This was a core formation realm existence. How could he possibly contend with it alone? Gritting his teeth, Fang Chen turned into an alley, placed Chen Xiling into a courtyard, and then leaped onto a rooftop ridge, leading the beast away towards the city's outskirts. If the beast remained in the city, it would inevitably cause a series of bloody massacres, harming countless innocents. Moreover, he would be unable to unleash his various techniques freely in crowded areas, for fear of endangering passers-by. Thus, he had no choice but to lure it out of the city first. The white-furred jade crystal beast, having sustained successive heavy injuries, now harbored a deep-seated hatred for Fang Chen and pursued him relentlessly towards the outside. Seeing it gaining on him, Fang Chen decisively activated Lone Swan's Shadow Glide, increasing his speed by severalfold. Although still not as fast as the white-furred jade crystal beast, he wouldn't be caught immediately. Leaping rapidly all the way, he inadvertently arrived near the Ding family's residence. The heavily injured Ding Zuhui watched as the white-furred jade crystal beast pursued Fang Chen towards them, his face pale, and he cried out in alarm, "Close the gates, quickly close the gates. Don't let Fang Chen lead the Beast King here." The members of the Ding family immediately closed the main gate, and the clansmen huddled together, as if facing a formidable enemy. Fang Chen's expression darkened slightly as he continued to run outwards. Wherever he went, Families of all sizes frantically shut their doors, afraid to let Fang Chen enter, fearing he would bring catastrophic disaster upon their own households. A group of selfish and foolish individuals. Many ants can kill an elephant. If all the major families united and gathered all their powerful martial artists, this white, furred jade crystal beast would flee in terror. Their individual fear allowed the white, furred jade crystal beast to rampage through the city. At this moment, a white-haired elder suddenly emerged from a rather grand family mansion, drew his longbow, and shot an arrow at the white, furred jade crystal beast. He roared, "You vile beast! Do you think Yunyang City has no one left? How dare you be so presumptuous?" Clang! The fur on the white, furred jade crystal beast was as hard as steel needles, incredibly tough. The arrow was immediately deflected, and it cast a ferocious glance at the elder before continuing its pursuit of Fang Chen. Fang Chen also looked at the elder with some surprise, noticing the words Lin family on the plaque of his mansion. "Young friend, 10 li to the east there is a lake. This beast fears water." The elder could not help Fang Chen directly, so he could only offer a warning. Fang Chen's eyes lit up. One of the white, furred jade crystal beast's weaknesses was its fear of water. However, upon hearing that it was 10 li away, his heart sank again. With his movement technique, he simply couldn't run that far. He felt quite remorseful for not having cultivated Lone Swan's shadow dash to the 2nd level. If he possessed the 2nd level movement technique, this demonic wolf would never be able to catch him. As things stood, he could only try with all his might. Soon after, he rushed out of Yunyang City, galloping eastward. After running merely 3 li, the white, furred jade crystal beast, emitting a strong stench, leaped from behind to pounce. A colossal shadow once again enveloped Fang Chen. Fang Chen, with a sudden surge of alertness, turned around and unleashed a sword strike he had been preparing for a long time. The 3rd form of sword heart meteor engraving, stars falling upon heaven and earth. In an instant, the air around Fang Chen churned wildly as if boiling. Dust on the ground billowed several zhang high. Near by vegetation instantly turned into a misty powder. Its power was so immense that it could be called destructive. The white, furred jade crystal beast had suffered losses twice in a row, and this time it was well prepared. It hastily retracted its neck, arched its back, and shielded its head with its forelimbs. Its entire body of white fur stood on end, resembling a hedgehog. However, it had still underestimated the ultimate move of sword heart meteor engraving. At this moment, the heavens and earth fell silent, and even it was deafened by the terrifying, thunderous explosion. Immediately after, a piercing pain shot through its back, and an immensely powerful shockwave flung its attic-sized body dozens of zhang away. As the smoke and dust dissipated, it disregarded the ringing in its ears and quickly turned its head to look behind it. It couldn't help but gasp. On its back there was no longer any white fur, only a bloody mess and chilling white bones. One could even see its internal organs beneath the ribs. It was only a hair's breadth away from being blown through. The white, furred jade crystal beast displayed a look of having survived a great calamity, and when it looked at Fang Chen again, there was finally a trace of wariness, but even more so, venomous hatred. Its forelimbs began to paw at the earth, a continuous low growl emanating from its mouth, and an eerie black light radiated from its body. Fang Chen's heart sank. This was the white, furred jade crystal beast's ultimate innate ability, Death's Shadow. Once unleashed, its speed would reach an unparalleled level. Even without using any demonic energy, its extreme speed would allow its claws to effortlessly cut through any divine weapon or sharp implement. Martial artists of the same cultivation level facing this ability had only one choice: death. There was no third option. But Fang Chen could not escape at all. Swoosh, the white, furred jade crystal beast transformed into a black afterimage, difficult for the naked eye to discern, and instantly appeared before Fang Chen. Its sturdy wolf claws, already raised, savagely swiped towards Fang Chen's chest. With this single swipe, Fang Chen would surely be torn into several pieces of flesh. However, the white, furred jade crystal beast suddenly realized that Fang Chen was not as panicked as it had imagined. On the contrary, a hint of excitement was hidden at the corner of his mouth. At the same time, the white, furred jade crystal beast also noticed that at some unknown point, the black sword in Fang Chen's hand had been replaced by a longsword emitting a purple glow. This sword filled it with a profound sense of unease. A chilling sensation of death rapidly spread throughout its entire body. It panicked, it was afraid. It didn't understand why its pursuit of this human boy was so unusual. Despite his seemingly weak cultivation, he was more troublesome and terrifying than those martial artists at the 7th or 8th Foundation establishment layers. After all, it was a beast king, and facing life and death, it retained a sliver of rationality. Now, whoever struck first would survive. The swung claw was faster, more precise, and more vicious. It had but one thought: either you die, or I perish. Fang Chen was equally aware of this, thus he exerted every ounce of his physical and spiritual power to activate the violet sword. Benefiting from the iron blood true scripture, wielding the violet sword was significantly easier for him than before. Consequently, this heavy greatsword was swiftly brought down upon the white, furred jade crystal beast. A claw, a sword both carrying a lethal intent, assaulted the opponent. Puwa, in an instant, the white, furred jade crystal beast struck Fang Chen's chest with its claw, but Fang Chen's violet sword also successfully landed upon its paw. What immense power the violet sword possessed, capable of severing all things from a distance, let alone a physical body. This incredibly hard wolf paw was severed as easily as tofu. Wolf blood gushed forth like a spring. The white, furred jade crystal beast let out a heart-wrenching roar of pain. As for Fang Chen, he was merely sent flying by the immense force, crashing into and breaking an ancient, towering tree. Although he suffered internal injuries and bled from the corner of his mouth, his chest was not pierced by the sharp claw. Beneath his torn clothing, a gleaming black profound iron armor was visible. It was none other than the guardian treasure of Xiaowei, Peak, the meridian profound iron armor. Witnessing Fang Chen's unharmed state while it had lost a leg, the white, furred jade crystal beast was both shocked and enraged. However, upon looking at the violet sword, extreme fear appeared in its eyes. At this very moment, it no longer dared to seek revenge. It turned and limped eastward. Fang Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes cold. "You are injured, and I shall take your life." Having managed to cripple it by surprise, how could he possibly let it go so easily? Naturally, even a white, furred jade crystal beast with a broken leg was not an opponent Fang Chen could easily deal with. He could only follow from a distance, seeking a suitable opportunity to strike it with another sword blow. If one sword was insufficient, then two. It would be ideal if he could wear it down to its death. Even if he couldn't wear it down, it would at least vent the deep resentment from being relentlessly pursued. Despite its injured leg, the white, furred jade crystal beast was still incredibly swift, shaking Fang Chen off its trail within a few li. At this juncture, it arrived before a tranquil lake. Just as it was about to find a rock crevice to hide and recover, an old man's soft exclamation unexpectedly sounded from directly above its head. Oh, how did the beast king of 100 Beasts Mountain become injured to such an extent? The white, furred jade crystal beast's fur instantly bristled, and its pupils contracted sharply. It was a beast king of the core formation realm, its senses far keener than humans of the same level. How could someone have approached it without being detected at all? Terrified, it sprang up and looked skyward. It discovered a giant black eagle, carrying an old man and a young woman on its back. The young one was a somewhat proud girl in pink, with beautifully braided hair, carrying an exquisitely crafted azure sword on her back. The old man, dressed in a Taoist robe, had a bagua mirror at his waist and held a whisk, appearing benevolent and kind-hearted. However, the white-furred jade, crystal beast instinctively felt terror, its entire body trembling uncontrollably. It could sense that this old man was as terrifying as an abyssal behemoth. Under his gaze, it dared not move a muscle. The girl in pink examined its mangled head, the bloodied hole in its neck, the gruesome wounds on its back, and its severed forelimb. She couldn't help but shiver. It could only have been an elder from the Azure Cloud sect who acted, she murmured. The old man nodded slightly, also believing that only an elder of the Azure Cloud sect could have inflicted such injuries upon the white-furred jade, crystal beast. Deputy Pavilion Master, let's continue our journey. We need to inform Sect Master Liu of our Tianji Pavilion's decision in person as soon as possible. The girl in pink had little interest in the white-furred jade, crystal beast. Instead, she seemed eager to reach the Azure Cloud Pavilion. Since when have you been so concerned with Tianji Pavilion's serious matters? The old man asked, a wry smile on his face. Clearly, you just want to challenge Liu Qingxian again. Having her thoughts exposed, the girl in pink blushed. She decided to drop the pretense. That's right, I'm going to challenge her. A year ago, she was lucky to draw with me, and I'm not convinced. I will definitely win against her, and I'll win so convincingly that she'll have no choice but to admit defeat. The old man smiled helplessly. As the Tianji Pavilion's prodigy and possessor of an 8th grade spiritual root, her innate talent far surpassed Liu Qingxian's. However, during their last spar, Liu Qingxian, through various means, managed to draw with the girl in pink. This she regarded as a profound humiliation. Over the past year, she had diligently striven to improve, all for the purpose of decisively defeating Liu Qingxian. Rest assured, he said, unless she has an unparalleled master guiding her, it will be very difficult for her to win against you. Innate talent determined one's potential, and after a year, the girl in pink's strength had reached an exceptionally high level. It would be impossible for Liu Qingxian to draw with her again. Then let's hurry. The girl in pink's eyes gleamed as she eagerly urged him on. The old man smiled. No rush. Let's deal with this beast king first. Consider it a small favor for that elder of the Azure Cloud sect. With that, his smile faded, and he gazed down at the white-furred jade, crystal beast beneath them. The latter was utterly terrified. Tucking its tail between its legs, it scrambled on 3 hooves and turned to flee. The old man remained expressionless, flicking his whisk through the air, producing a muffled thud. The white-furred azure crystal beast, having already run dozens of yards, suddenly let out a mournful cry. Immediately after, blood flowed from its 7 orifices, clearly indicating severe internal injuries. Yet, relying on its resilient body, it continued to flee towards the distant forest. To survive half-dead after taking an attack from this old man, I truly underestimated this beast. Take another strike from me. The old man's eyes sharpened, and he was about to give chase. Suddenly, a purple light flashed in the forest, piercing through the enormous body of the white-furred azure crystal beast. Without even a whimper, its body split in 2 and crashed to the ground. The old man, witnessing this scene, drew a sharp breath. What powerful sword energy! Could it be Huang Jianchen from the Azure Cloud sect who made a move? Among the Azure Cloud sect, only he can unleash such formidable sword energy. The pink-clad maiden also showed a hint of surprise. Didn't they say the Azure Cloud sect had no capable individuals left? This grand elder doesn't seem weak at all. The old man revealed a trace of a smile. It seems his swordplay has improved significantly after years of secluded training. Come with me to meet him." The two quickly descended, and the old man laughed heartily towards the forest. "Old Huang, this beast king, you'll have to share some with me." He couldn't finish his sentence. The pink-clad maiden was also dumbfounded. For the person who emerged from the forest was not Huang Zhanchen, but a young boy. This made both the old man and the pink-clad maiden freeze in unison. Not only was the attacker not Huang Zhanchen, but it was also an incredibly young boy. That terrifying sword strike just now was the doing of the youth before them. The Fang Exquisitan INWATCHORMED, the Tuwu initting to be INDIVIDUALS before him with Revkung, caused considerable apprehension, especially the old man. He had witnessed the entire scene where the old man's attack from a distance had gravely wounded the white-furred azure crystal beast, leaving it on the verge of death. He was well aware of how tough and resilient the white-furred azure crystal beast was. Even with all his efforts, he hadn't been able to inflict a fatal injury upon it. Yet the old man, with a casual flick of his horsetail whisk, had brought it to the brink of death. This level of power was terrifyingly high. Just as he was unsure how to speak, the old man was the first to ask, "Who are you?" Fang Chen pondered for a moment, then took out paper and pen, writing down the 3 characters Azure Cloud Sect. To avoid revealing more, he decided to resume his old tactic and continue pretending to be mute. "Impossible," the maiden declared decisively. "The Azure Cloud Sect doesn't have a disciple as powerful as you. To be able to injure the white-furred emerald crystal beast to such an extent, and even cleave it in two with a single sword stroke. I doubt even some elders could achieve such a feat." The old man scrutinized Fang Chen with burning eyes, pondering. He had heard that the sole master of the Azure Cloud Sect was fond of concocting elixirs for longevity, youth preservation, and beauty enhancement. Could it be that the young man before him was actually a middle-aged elder who had consumed such an elixir? Only this could explain his remarkably youthful appearance, combined with extraordinarily powerful abilities. Fang Chen was momentarily stunned. "Well, I'll be." Before he could even consider how to explain himself, the old man had already provided a clear explanation on his behalf. Fang Chen nodded, then gestured with his brush and said. To avoid further questioning, he turned the inquiry back to the old man. The old man smiled, flicked his whisk, and said, "Yu Yunzi, one of the 4 deputy pavilion masters of the Pavilion of Heavenly Secrets, is none other than this humble Taoist." "What?" Fang Chen's heart trembled, and he nearly cried out in surprise. He had actually encountered such a prominent figure. No wonder he was so formidable, effortlessly beating the Beast King half to death with a mere flick of his whisk. He quickly offered a bow. However, the pink-clad girl beside them was half skeptical. "Such a young elder, yet your swordsmanship is so formidable." Her gaze swept over Fang Chen, and when she noticed a sword wrapped in cloth strips on his back, a look of curiosity appeared on her face. Just as she was about to press for more answers, Yu Yunzi gently chided, "Do not be rude. Inquiring into another's martial arts origins is a major taboo." He then cupped his hands towards Fang Chen and said, "This is Nangong Zioyan. She is still young and lacks proper etiquette, so you need not mind her words. Which martial artist does not possess their own secrets? To rashly inquire about another's martial arts background is exceedingly impolite." Fortunately, the old man was reasonable, saving Fang Chen some trouble. Fang Chen nodded, then wrote, "This Beast King was slain by Senior. It rightfully belongs to you. However, might I request that you allow me to have its demon core, which I need to report back." He possessed self-awareness, knowing that without Yu Yunzi's intervention, his chances of slaying the white-furred emerald crystal beast would have been nearly zero. Even if the other party claimed it entirely, he would have no objections. Yunyang revealed a look of satisfaction. From this alone, it was evident that this young elder of the Azure Cloud sect possessed good character, and was not a person consumed by insatiable greed. Thus, he was happy to be generous, smiling and waving his hand as he said, "They are all for you. This humble Taoist does not need them." Fang Chen was overjoyed and bowed in gratitude. He immediately drew his black sword, and with precise accuracy, pierced the abdomen of the white, furred jade, crystal beast. After a few stirs, he extracted a snow-white elemental pearl, roughly the size of a fist. It was, astonishingly, a complete demonic core from a core formation realm beast. A demonic core from the core formation realm is a treasure beyond compare, capable not only of refining artifacts, but also of concocting spiritual elixirs that aid in breaking through to the core formation realm. He happily wiped away the blood and stowed it into his pouch. Witnessing this scene, Nangong Xiaoyan became somewhat displeased. She had received a scolding, yet he had reaped all the benefits. "Deputy Pavilion Master, I also want to take some materials from the Beast King." Nangong Xiaoyan puffed out her cheeks and spoke with a pout. Yunyang was both amused and exasperated. "Are you really short on money? As the proud daughter of the Heavenly Mystery Pavilion, what resources aren't readily available to you? Is there truly a need for you to sell demonic beast materials for profit?" I just want to." Nangong Xiaoyan stamped her delicate jade foot and huffed indignantly. Yunyang, left with no choice, relented. "Go on, then. This particular species of Beast King from the 100 Beasts Mountain seems quite rare. Perhaps it's worth a bit of money." This Beast King species was somewhat rare. Those who had not specifically studied demonic beasts might not be able to identify its kind. Yunyang had only heard it said that the Beast Kings of the 100 Beasts Mountain possessed extraordinary origins. With a competitive spirit, Nangong Xiaoyan approached the two severed halves of the corpse, contemplating which valuable materials she could also acquire. However, once she stood before the corpse, she found herself at a loss. The demonic beast's corpse was enormous, but what part of it was valuable? She drew a complete blank. She focused on the individual white hairs, which resembled steel needles and possessed extraordinary hardness. Her eyes lit up. So hard. This must be excellent material for crafting defensive artifacts, definitely valuable. Without further ado, she began plucking the white hairs, as if snatching them away. Fang Chen was speechless. He had just been about to remove the white fur himself. Nevertheless, since the white furred jade, crystal beast had been slain by the Deputy Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Mystery Pavilion, and his disciple also deserved a share, he could not voice any objections. Fortunately, he had thoroughly studied the white, furred jade, crystal beast in a pictorial guide, and knew that its white fur was merely one of its more valuable materials. There were several other, even more valuable components. He approached the head of the white, furred jade, crystal beast, gazing at its pair of emerald eyes with fervent intensity. According to the pictorial guide, the eyes of the white, furred jade, crystal beast were indeed its most valuable part. These two eyeballs, with a bit of refining, would become a natural high-grade magic artifact, the Gale Orb. Worn on the body, it grants the constant companionship of a swift gale, allowing one to leap 10 zhang with a single step. If combined with the Lone Swan's shadow technique, it is believed that even the white, furred jade, crystal beast at its peak, would not be able to outrun Fang Chen. He immediately dug out the two eyeballs and infused spiritual power into them. Instantly, a black whirlwind erupted around him, much like when the white, furred jade, crystal beast unleashed its shadow of death. With a light step, he instantly covered a distance of 10 zhang. Those unaware might have thought it was the legendary divine art of shrinking the earth to an inch. Yunyang, who had kept his hands tucked in his sleeves and maintained a leisurely composure, was startled by the sudden teleportation. He couldn't help but exclaim softly, "What kind of cultivation technique is this?" With his discerning eye, he naturally saw that it was not teleportation, nor was it shrinking the earth to an inch, but rather Fang Chen's speed reaching such an extreme that it became imperceptible. But soon he noticed the two emerald green eyeballs in Fang Chen's hand. After a moment of thought, his aged eyes widened. The Gale Orb, ID 943. It's the Gale Orb, an item almost impossible to acquire for 10,000 gold. Looking back at the corpse of the white, furred jade, crystal beast, he exclaimed in surprise, could this be a white, furred jade, crystal beast? It possesses the bloodline of a demon emperor and is one of the most valuable demonic beasts. Even a small piece of its flesh is worth 10,000 gold. Those two eyeballs are even more priceless. The last time they appeared was 10 years ago, selling for the exorbitant price of 100,000 spirit crystals. Even as the vice pavilion master of the heavenly secret pavilion, such an astonishing treasure was hard for him not to desire. He watched as Fang Chen, with a look of delight, tucked the two eyeballs into his bosom. He hastily raised his hand, intending to stop him, but realizing that he himself had given the demonic beast to Fang Chen, he drew back his hand in vexation. He could only watch as Fang Chen tucked the Gale Orbs into his embrace. The pain in his heart made him wish he could pluck out his own aged eyes. To think he had misjudged this beast king. However, there were still several other valuable parts on the white, furred jade, crystal beast's body. It would be inconvenient for him to break his word and personally retrieve them. But he could have Nangong Xiaoi and do it. Seeing Nangong Xiaoi, and still enthusiastically plucking the white fur, Yunyang's mouth twitched. He's already taken the most valuable parts, and you're still plucking fur. Xiaoyan, the white, furred jade beast constantly feeds on spiritual beasts, and its flesh contains a large amount of spiritual energy, making it a rare and superior ingredient. Nangong Xiaoi, and paused for a moment. So what I have isn't worth much. You should have said so earlier. Angrily, she drew her dagger, but facing the massive carcass, she didn't know where to begin. This beast king's body was all meat. Surely there was no need to rush for it. Just as Yunyang was about to give a reminder, his mouth twitched severely as he realized something. Fang Chen, holding his black sword, jumped onto the back of the white, furred jade beast, pried open the fractured spine, and dug out a remarkably fresh, long strip of meat, resembling tenderloin, hidden beneath the bones. It was exceptionally firm and full of elasticity. The spiritual energy it contained was several times that of ordinary meat. Fang Chen pulled out a cloth pouch and placed it inside. This was one of the most valuable parts of the white, furred jade beast. As its name suggested, it was the most essential piece of meat in the entire body. Its spiritual energy was even more abundant than all the other meat on its body combined. Nangong Xiaoyan was still searching, asking. Yunyang retorted curtly. At this moment, he noticed where Nangong Xiaoyan was standing. He recalled. Quickly cut it off. Nangong Xiaoyan, however, was stunned. Yunyang's aged face flushed slightly. Teaching a young girl about a beast's whip felt somewhat indecent for an old man. But recalling that if it wasn't removed soon, all the good parts of the white, furred jade beast would be claimed by that brat, he decisively pointed towards the posterior abdomen of the beast. Nangong Xiaoyan followed his gaze, and her delicate, rosy face instantly turned crimson. She quickly averted her eyes, not daring to look further. She mumbled. Fang Chen had long noticed the beast's whip. This item was a treasure men dreamed of acquiring. It was a cherished item among many powerful but aging warriors, yet it was extremely hard to come by. Initially, upon hearing Yu Yunzi's instructions, Fang Chen had given up. Unexpectedly, Nangong Ziyuan was too embarrassed to cut it. What more was there to say? He decisively ran over, the blade rose and fell, and he gleefully stowed it into his pouch. Witnessing this scene, Yu Yunzi was deeply frustrated by their lack of progress. Were it not for his standing, he would have personally intervened. Infuriated, he commanded Ziyuan, extract the beast king's stomach. Not only did it consume spiritual beasts, but it also frequently devoured rare natural treasures from the mountains, leaving a sedimentation of precious essences in its stomach, a value entirely comparable to that prime meat. Regardless, they should at least be entitled to one such item, shouldn't they? Fang Chen also knew the white, furred jade crystal beast's stomach was very valuable, but having already acquired so much, he felt he should be content. He decided to yield it to the others. Nangong Ziyoi pulled back her neck, knowing that if she didn't acquire some valuable material soon, Yu Yunzi would become angry. However, as she cut away the colossal stomach, and a reeking pile of contents taller than herself spilled out, she decisively recoiled. Deputy Pavilion Master, I can't handle this. Pinching her nose, she pleaded pitifully. Are there any other valuable parts? I'll definitely claim them. Yu Yunzi waved his hand. Go pluck the fur, then. He's tired. Fang Chen's eyes lit up. He wrote, Miss Nangong, do you truly not want it? Nangong Ziyoi, glared at him fiercely. This old lady's giving it to you. Overjoyed, Fang Chen quickly dragged the enormous stomach, larger than himself, to a nearby lake, emptied its contents, and cleaned it thoroughly, thus acquiring a priceless stomach. The white furred jade crystal beast's stomach was a high-grade medicinal ingredient. Even those from the Foundation establishment stage were exceedingly rare, let alone one from the core formation stage. Fang Chen had no doubt that if he sold it to Wen Hongyao, she would venerate him like a living bodhisattva. Joyfully, he folded the enormous stomach pouch. However, at this moment, he unexpectedly discovered a hard object within the stomach that hadn't been washed clean. Fang Chen's expression darkened slightly. He opened the stomach pouch for a closer inspection. But a look of surprise crossed his face. What is this? Embedded within the stomach wall was a palm-sized iron scroll. Upon taking it out, he saw strange characters engraved upon it. Yu Yunzi also sensed something amiss. Rushing over for a look, a deeply moved expression appeared on his face. A pill scripture silver scroll. It's actually a pill scripture silver scroll. This was a pill scripture silver scroll, inscribed with the secrets of the Demon Emperor's secret realm. Within the Demon Emperor's secret realm lay heaven, defying opportunities. It was rumored that demon kings who entered would find opportunities to break through to the Demon Emperor realm. Human core formation martial artists who entered also had a chance to break through and become nascent soul stage grand cultivators. Remarkably, one such scroll was concealed within the body of this beast king. Yu Yunzi's gaze burned with intense fervor. As a cultivator in the late core formation stage, forming a nascent soul was the lifelong dream he pursued. The demonic emperor's secret realm was undoubtedly one of the pathways to achieve this. However, upon clearly discerning the runes inscribed on it, he quickly regained his composure. He let out a long sigh. What a pity! The inscriptions are in the demonic clan's script. Only direct descendants of the demonic emperor can decipher them. Though you have stumbled upon a great opportunity, it is an opportunity of no use to you. By the end of his words, a smile appeared on his face. It carried a hint of schadenfreude. However, a thought stirred within Fang Chen. Wasn't the little spirit beast he raised a descendant of a demonic emperor? or perhaps even a being of higher existence. Couldn't it, then, decipher them? Without a trace of emotion, he put away the silver scroll of alchemical scripture, ensuring Yunyang noticed nothing unusual. Taking up his brush, he wrote, "Many thanks for your generous gift, Senior. This junior has gained much today." Yunyang's smile vanished. It was then that he remembered Fang Chen had taken all the valuable parts from the white, furred jade beast's body. "You brat!" His aged face stretched long. He leaped onto his flying beast and commanded, "Zhao Yun, let's go." Nangong Zaioi, and small hands ached from plucking fur. She huffily glared at Fang Chen before following Yunyang away. Fang Chen rubbed his nose, muttering, "Deputy Pavilion Master Yu." Why did he suddenly stop smiling? Is it because he doesn't like to smile? Not long after, they returned to Yunyang City. Just as they arrived at the entrance of the Ding family residence, they heard Chen Siling's tearful pleas. "Senior brother Ning, please send someone to save Fang Chen." Fang Chen lured away the Beast King by himself to protect Yunyang City. Ding Wanping's upturned lips revealed the joy in his heart. Fang Chen's death not only meant he was the true victor of Yunyang City's hunt this time, but also that this despicable fellow, who had infuriated him repeatedly, had finally paid the price he deserved. Gazing at the pleading Chen Siling, his lips curled even further, and he said, "Junior sister, you're overthinking it." Fang Chen was merely scared witless and fled indiscriminately. It is fortunate enough that I have not blamed him for attracting the Beast King and devastating Yunyang City. How could I possibly send people to rescue him? Furthermore, does Junior Sister truly believe he could still be alive now? He has, long ago, entered the Beast King's belly. He might even have been expelled by now. Yehoha! Upon hearing this, Chen Siling, in tears, fell into immense sorrow. At the same time, she glared resentfully at Ding Wanping, and angrily declared, "You can only be smug now. If Fang Chen were still alive, you wouldn't even be fit to carry his shoes." This stung Ding Wanping. Angrily, he raised his palm and fiercely swung it towards Chen Siling. He snarled, "You worthless wench. Fang Chen is dead, and you're still defending him. If you're so capable, make him come back to life and face me." Just at that moment, the main door was suddenly burst open. Concurrently, a flash of black light appeared, and Fang Chen, as if shrinking the distance with each step, materialized before Ding Wanping. Before Ding Wanping's palm could fall, Fang Chen slapped him across the face with his own. Having cultivated the iron blood scripture, his physique was far stronger than that of ordinary people. The force of a slap delivered in anger was immense, as one might expect. Only a crisp slap echoed throughout the Ding mansion. Immediately after, Ding Wanping was spun around 3 times on the spot by the impact, and a bloody handprint quickly swelled on his face. His head was spinning, and he seemed not to have understood what had just transpired. When he clearly saw Fang Chen's figure before him, he reacted as if seeing a ghost, exclaiming, "Ah, you're not dead." His reply was another slap from Fang Chen. This slap caused blood to gush from his mouth and nose. "Harm my woman, and you seek death." Fang Chen, fueled by anger, raised his foot and kicked him in the abdomen, knocking him to the ground. Only then did Chen Siling regain her composure. With tears of joy, she threw herself into Fang Chen's arms, clinging tightly to his neck and burying her entire body against him. Weeping inconsolably, she cried out, "I thought you were dead." Fang Chen reached out a finger to wipe away her tears. He smiled and said, "That Beast King couldn't do anything to me." With the purple sword in hand, even the Beast King could only flee. "Silly girl," he thought, "aren't you usually quite clever? How could you be so foolish as to seek help from Ding Wanping?" After comforting her, he couldn't help but gently admonish her. Ding Wanping's character needed no further elaboration. What he intended to do to Chen Xiling was certainly more than just a slap. It was difficult to guarantee that he wouldn't lay a hand on Chen Xiling, or even use force. As the young master of the Ding family, he had become utterly arrogant and inflated. Chen Xiling, with tears in her eyes, said bitterly, "I was at my wit's end. If you died, I would have nothing left." Unconsciously, Fang Chen had become the only one left in her world. If Fang Chen were to die, she would no longer have any expectations for this world. Hearing these words, Fang Chen's heart softened. He embraced her waist and quietly comforted her. Meanwhile, Ding Wanping, whose cheeks were swollen from the slaps, was finally jolted wide awake by the stinging pain. Both startled and enraged, he scrambled to his feet and roared, "Fang Chen! How dare you lay hands on me in the Ding family? I am the young master of the Ding family, the one personally chosen by Master Qin. How dare you strike me?" Fang Chen released Chen Xiling, turned his gaze to Ding Wanping, and with a chilling look in his eyes, he said, "Haven't you always wanted to spar with me? Since no one is around now, dare you try?" Ding Wanping had long wanted to teach Fang Chen a harsh lesson. Upon hearing Fang Chen proactively suggest sparring, he laughed furiously. "You dog, you slapped me twice, and now you want to end this conflict with a spar. Dream on, I'll take your life." He drew his dark longsword and charged at Fang Chen, his fury erupting. "You dog, go to hell!" The dark longsword glowed with spiritual energy, emitting an incredibly fierce sword kai as it slashed towards Fang Chen's head. He was indeed overly arrogant, to the point of daring to openly attack a fellow disciple with lethal intent. The cold light in Fang Chen's eyes intensified, all the better then. He decisively drew his black sword. A single sword strike, radiating sword energy like thunder, erupted from the blade, transforming into a thunderous explosion. In an instant, the massive explosion sent Ding Wanping, along with his sword, flying backwards, slamming heavily into the wall. The wall cracked upon impact, developing a dense network of spider web-like fissures. He himself slid down the wall, a thick mist of blood spewing from his mouth. His eyes were wide with utter shock. He simply could not believe that the waste he had always disregarded had managed to injure him so severely with a single sword strike. Despite being at the 6th layer of foundation establishment, while Fang Chen was only at the 4th. Yet the outcome of their confrontation was his utter defeat. How could this be possible? He refused to accept it. He would not concede even in death. Ding Wanping struggled to his feet, brandishing his longsword and roaring. This time, Fang Chen did not even bother to draw his sword, instead unleashing a dragon, soaring palm strike from a distance. Accompanied by a shriek of pain, Ding Wanping was sent flying backward, a stream of blood shooting from his mouth. This time he only stopped after smashing through an osmanthus tree as thick as a thigh. He coughed violently, expelling streaks of fresh blood. His eyes were wide, his face filled with disbelief. He was, in fact, inferior even to Fang Chen, who was fighting without a weapon. This was something he found difficult to accept. It was at this very moment that Ding Zuhui and several other powerful experts from the Ding family, sensing the tremendous commotion, swiftly arrived. Upon discovering that Fang Chen had actually returned alive, they all displayed expressions of astonishment. He had actually returned alive from the pursuit of the Beast King. It was truly baffling. To survive such an ordeal, surely the Beast King must have shown immense mercy to let him go. However, they soon discovered Ding Wanping's miserable state. Ding Zuhui was greatly alarmed, asking, "Wanping, are you all right?" Ding Wanping was the young master personally designated by Master Qin. Should any misfortune befall him, how could the Ding family possibly explain themselves? Ding Wanping, in his wretched state, directed his anger at them for arriving too late, shouting, "What good are you all? He arrived only now. I wish to see Master Qin, bring him here quickly. Let him see how the Ding family has neglected me." Ding Zhuhui was thoroughly lambasted. As the head of the Ding family, this caused him to lose face completely and infuriated him. However, due to Master Qin's favor, Ding Zhuhui could only swallow his anger. He advised kindly. However, Ding Wanping roared. Now! Not only was Ding Zhuhui furious, but Ding Tianxiang and the other Ding family elders beside him were all enraged. This opportunistic scoundrel, emboldened by Master Qin's backing, had become utterly lawless. Ding Zhuhui's jaw muscles twitched. He wished he could slap him to death. He suppressed his anger and instructed an elder. Watching the elder rush off, Ding Wanping couldn't help but feel pleased. Because of his illegitimate status, the elders had always ignored him, never considering him important. And now, with a single word from him, these arrogant elders had to scurry about, carrying out his orders like bowing insects. Though he was merely the young master, his words carried more weight than those of the family head. This filled Ding Wanping with immense satisfaction. Therefore, when he looked at Fang Chen, he once again adopted a condescending demeanor. "You cur, do you see? This is what status is called. This is what position is called. This is what power is called. This is it. Do you think just because you know some crooked tricks, you can challenge me, Ding Wanping? You are not worthy." At this moment, he was unbelievably arrogant, as if he had become the sole ruler of Yunyang City, supreme and unchallenged. Fang Chen's expression remained indifferent. He recalled an ancient saying, "Sins committed against heaven may be forgiven, but self-inflicted sins leave no room for survival." Ding Wanping's arrogance and tyranny would utterly destroy him. "What, are you so scared of me that you can't even fart? Ha ha." Seeing Fang Chen speechless, Ding Wanping threw his head back and laughed loudly. Fang Chen calmly stated,